This WISE review will cover the content area of credit. And this is just going to be one part of what we're talking about with credit, and it's just going to address the fundamentals of how credit works. What is credit? Well, credit is when you don't have the money that you need to buy something and somebody gives it to you. In other words, they loan you the money. Now, the amount that you have borrowed is called principal. And in return, you give them an IOU of some form, meaning you will pay them later. And you will pay them back not only the principal, the amount that you borrowed, but you will also pay them interest. Now, you're going to owe them some amount of money. How much interest you owe them is based on what the interest rate is. You'll have to pay them some, and it's basically a percent of whatever balance it is that you owe. That interest rate will be expressed as an annual percentage rate, or APR, which is what you can actually expect to pay over a year on whatever the unpaid balance is. You got to understand that this interest rate is being charged to you as payment to the lender for the risk they're taking of loaning you the money and you possibly not paying them back. Now, your monthly payment will go toward two things. It will go toward the interest that you owe on that amount that you currently owe them, as well as to paying down the balance sum. Now, a lot of it initially will go toward just the interest that you owe, while some goes toward knocking down the balance. The farther along you get in the loan, those actually reverse, where you'll be paying less in interest and more toward knocking down the balance toward the end of the time you borrowed the money. Now, who offers you credit? Well, you can go to your bank or your credit union and borrow money. You can get money through credit card companies where you're making purchases on credit cards. You can borrow money for a house through a mortgage company. You can borrow for cars through auto finance companies that specifically work with folks trying to buy cars. Retail stores offer their own in-store credit. Student loans are another form of credit. And even some place like a payday lender, a pawn shop, check cashing center, or tax preparer will all loan you money for some kind of interest to be paid back in addition to the balance you owe them. Some benefits of using credit: well, you can get some of the things that you might need. Maybe you need a house so you can have somewhere to live. Maybe you need a car that you can't afford to pay for all through cash and you need it to get to work. Or even pursue an education. Those educations can be pretty expensive. Well, this allows you to get those items now and make payments on them over time. However, you got to understand, credit makes things more expensive. Let's take a look at this car here. Cash price would be $33,998. If you borrow it for 4-year loan with a 2.49% APR, you're going to pay an extra $2,756 over the life of that loan to buy this car. The longer the loan, though, the more interest you'll pay. Notice here, by extending it for an additional year, you pay about $400 more than you would have if you only did it over 4 years. Also, if the interest rate is higher, you're going to pay more for that car. Notice here, same 4-year loan as the initial one, but now with a 7.49% interest rate, you're paying almost $4,000 more for that vehicle than you would have on the 4-year loan, and of course over $6,500 more than just the cash price. How do lenders set interest rates? Well, they look at two things. First, they look at how long are you going to borrow the money for. Here's some rates quoted by Apple Federal Credit Union, and you see they have different lengths that they are loaning the money out for. They're also going to look at how risky the borrower is. Notice it says as low as above all those interest rates listed. They're going to actually review the riskiness of that borrower to determine what interest rate they actually plan to charge, and it can be much higher than what that as low as rate is. Interest rates might also be fixed rates, like this first one listed here. What that simply means is the interest rate stays the same throughout the life of the loan, and your payment will stay the same throughout the life of the loan. Sometimes they might set a variable rate. What that simply means is that the interest rate and your payment can go up or down, and they'll normally tie it to some major interest rate, like in this case it's the prime rate, and they just add some certain percentage on top of that to determine what they actually charge you. They also will set the rate based on whether the loan is unsecured, and these signature loans, that simply means there's no asset that's pledged against the loan that they can come and take. Or you can secure a loan. What that simply means is you pledge some kind of asset that they can then take should you stop making payments on the loan. In these secured loans case, a savings account or certificate of deposit are pledged as the assets that can be come and take. Those items, those assets, are referred to as collateral. It can be anything of value. More common ones are savings account balances, a home, car, retirement accounts that you might have money saved up in, even money that is built up as a cash value in a whole life policy can all be pledged as collateral. In any of these cases, should you stop making payments on the loan and they put the loan into default, they can come seize that asset. That's what you're letting them do by pledging that against the loan. In the case of a house, they'll foreclose on the house and then they'll come and kick you out. Throw all your stuff on the curb. In the case of a car, they will go ahead and repossess it. And then they'll take that and they'll go sell it somewhere else. Now, these are all referred to as collateralized loans. Whenever you pledge collateral against a loan and secure that loan, it's known as also a collateralized loan. Secured loans and collateralized loans are the same thing. And this concludes this review.